The time has come at last, my beloved audience. I know you were waiting for this one for a while. To discuss Charlotte Daifuku, the third son of the Charlotte family, the Minister of Beans. What kind of beans is he the minister of? I don't know. That's what we're here to discuss. Pinto beans? Lima beans? Jelly beans? Magic beans? I don't know. And he's also the wielder of the Hoya no Mi, or the lamp fruit, or maybe a better translation would be the puff fruit. It's a fake cigarette. I don't really smoke. But yeah, and you know what? I planned this out very particularly. I was biding my time with this. From the moment that he was introduced and he showed off his Devil Fruit ability, I'm like, ho, this is going to be a good video to make. I knew this was going to be a lot of fun, but I couldn't do it right away. Because when he first showed up, we had a lot of stuff going on in that chapter. I think we found out about Daifuku's ability and Oven's ability in the same chapter, and it was during the scuffle at the tea party, and everything was, like, a lot of stuff was going on at that moment. Big Mom was letting out her scream, and you had Brooke knock over the picture. There was a lot of stuff going on. I couldn't do a discussion video specifically about him. And whenever I do my character discussion videos, it's always because that character is extremely relevant in the story. Like I did Sparrow's discussion video right after he displayed his Candy Sea Slug ability and everything. So it's always because they're relevant. Or if they have big Jigglypuffs, then I can talk about them whenever, which just happens to include a lot of characters in One Piece. Alright, so, Daifuku, honestly, don't know much about the character himself, although we do know that he's part of a trio that makes up of Katakuri, the second son, Daifuku himself, the third son, and then Oven, the fourth son. They are actually triplets. They were all born to the same father and Big Mom. We don't know who their father is, although considering that we got three of the strongest fighters in the entire Big Mom crew, I would hope that maybe we might reference him someday, maybe, who knows. Katakuri is, of course, the strongest. We've already kind of established that. And Oven is strong as well, but when it comes to unusual Devil Fruit powers, Daifuku kind of takes the cake there. Or I guess he takes the beans, or whatever food reference you want to say. There's so many food references in Totland, you could do whatever you want. Yeah, Katakuri, I mean, even Sparrow. Sparrow is not the same, he doesn't have the same father as the other three, but Sparrow's Devil Fruit ability is pretty simple. It just allows him to summon candy, mold things out of candy. Alright, cool. Katakuri summons Mochi. He's an awakened user. That's pretty neat. You could do some fun stuff with that. Oven is just, he can heat stuff up with his body. Alright, fine. But then you have Daifuku, who's like, oh yeah, my Devil Fruit ability is I rub my tummy a lot, and then a magical genie pops out of it that will listen to my every whim, that will attack my opponent with the rage of a beast with a huge freaking halberd. Yeah. Okay, that seems rather amusing. Okay, now, like I said, when it comes to Daifuku himself, not really much to discuss here. I mean, I like his actual design. I like the way that Oda draws him. He has, like, the giant stature with the little mustache and the earrings and the giant balls he's got on his shoulders. That cannot be easy to maneuver with. Going through doorways must be very difficult for that dude. But, yeah, he himself, not really all that interesting. He has the same basic attitude as all the other Big Mom pirates at the moment, which is, well, it's kind of preoccupied at the moment with let's stop the Straw Hats from getting away, and let's crush them, beneath our fist. He seems a little bit hot-headed, I would say, more so than Katakuri, probably on the same level of Oven. For the most part, he's chill, but if, the enemies start coming at him, he's just like, you stupid brats, I'm gonna wreck your shit, that kind of stuff. But yeah, his Devil Fruit is really where it gets interesting. So, first off, just the ability to summon another, seemingly sentient, self-aware being out of your own body that's, like, separate. It's still connected to your body through the smoke. The puff fruit is the actual translation of it, so it's like the sound of smoke coming out of a chimney or something, so there is a connection there. Not sure if it's a connection that could be severed, because it's smoke. I don't know if someone could just run up to Daifuku with a sword and just cut the smoke, and that would sever the genie. Probably not. But it's connected to him. But the fact remains that this genie is capable of speaking on its own. It's capable of seemingly making its own. It asks Daifuku for, like, its direction, its order, but after given its order and go attack those people over there, it attacks, and it has, like, its own techniques that it named and everything like that. So yeah, it would appear that the genie at least has its own sense of autonomy or something in some way. Now, being able to create other creatures with a Devil Fruit ability, that is something that we've definitely seen before. We've seen it with the Kage no Mi, with the zombies, and the Hobby no Mi with the toys, even Big Mom's Soul Fruit with the homies. Here's the difference, though, kids, and it's a big difference, okay? with all those examples I just listed off, it requires human beings to be the raw ingredients for creating those new forms of life. Okay? It's not like Sugar can just snap her fingers and create toys out of nothing. She needs to turn human beings or animals into those toys. Same thing with the Kage no Mi. Moria himself cannot just snap his fingers and have the dead rise back up from the freaking grave. He needs to rip a shadow out of a human and then throw it into a corpse, and then it becomes a zombie. Now, with Big Mom's Soul So Fruit, there is a little bit of an exception with that. Big Mom does rip out the souls of other humans and throws them into objects or animals to create homies, but she can create her own homies from her own soul. Like, so she literally can just, like, snap her fingers, or rather rip out her own soul, throw it into, like, a fireball or a cloud or something, make Zeus and Prometheus. They have their own personalities. They're capable of getting into fights with one another, so they're not, like, directly puppets controlled by Big Mom. But even with that, she still needs to actually take out her soul and throw it into, like, something as the catalyst. Daifuku's thing seems to be, all I have to do, there's no raw materials, there's nothing required for this, all I need to do to summon this other being is just rub my tummy, and then he just pops out. He actually wears a belt, and on the belt buckle you can actually see the design of a lamp on the belt buckle, and then the genie comes out of that. I don't know if that's something you get with the devil fruit, like you eat the devil fruit, then you just get this awesome belt with a lamp on it, like, oh, okay, what's this? Or maybe it's just it comes out of any part of your body. Actually, where is it coming out of? That's something that's rather disturbing, but I guess that's not the main point of this seminar. The point of this is that there's not a lot of other devil fruits that have this. Maybe with Moria's Doppelman, but I always imagine the Doppelman as just, once again, an extension from himself that he maybe just controls. I mean, yeah, you have Perona's ghost that she can summon, but they don't seem to have any sort of intelligence. They seem more like puppets controlled by Perona. Honestly, the one that syncs up the best is honestly Robin's fruit, because Robin can make a straight-up clone of herself, and I don't really know if, like, Robin, it doesn't seem like Robin has to give direct orders to the clone. It seems like she's literally creating a clone of herself, as in creating a clone with her brain and having her own thought process that can do its own thing, for a limited amount of time anyway. So that seems to be the one that most, like, syncs up with Daifuku's fruit anyway. It seems with this, like, Daifuku gives it an order, but it always takes actions that don't always directly follow his order or the way that he specified. For example, in the most recent chapter, Daifuku ordered his genie, go attack Carrot. She's wrecking our ships. And so, yeah, the genie went after Carrot, but it also did massive damage to Daifuku's own ships. If Daifuku had complete control over this thing, he obviously doesn't want his own ships to be destroyed. So you think that would go without saying. Like, Daifuku would be like, Genie, attack Carrot. Also, by the way, make sure to not destroy our ships in the process, but that's not what he said, so that's probably why the genie went ahead and did everything in its power to attack Carrot, not caring about everything else about collateral damage, because Daifuku did not specify as such. And that comes back to just genies, being harbingers of misfortune if you don't treat them the right way. If you ask for a wish from a genie, they could screw with you and give you something that you don't actually want unless you're very specific, or at least that's the way they're portrayed mostly in pop culture, because here's something else. And I even messed this up. When Daifuku first showed up and he did the whole genie thing, I think I made a reference to, like, oh, he's gonna grant you 3 wishes or something, and a few people in the comments were like, Matt, come on, that's all that freaking Disney Channel Aladdin bullshit, you gotta read up on genies. Now look, I'm a fan of mythology, I like reading about fantastical mythological creatures and everything like that, but I'm not an expert on everything, guys, and genies were never something I really took much interest in, but luckily, I have reading material, I have books that can help me. A Field Guide to Fantastical Beasts by Olento Salaparet. Oh god, why is there that thing above the A? I have no idea how to pronounce that. Oliver Saporento. Okay, so from this book here, we can actually see that we can see that genies actually have a long, colorful history here before the whole Robin Williams thing happened. All right, so basically, just to give you a brief rundown here, I'm not going to go into incredible detail, but just to break it down for you really quick, in pre-Islamic Arabia, they were basically deities, so they were essentially gods, and they would give you great fortune, but you had to treat them right. You had to appease them first. Nothing maybe specifically about wishes, just, if you treat them right, if you appease them as the deities that they are, they would give you something, good fortune in return. Genies are also mentioned in the Quran a few times, created by Allah, and they're basically creatures that were made out of smokeless fire. They exist everywhere. They exist above the earth, below the earth, in the trees, in the water, in the mountains, and they also have the ability to shapeshift and turn invisible. So they can straight up turn invisible, and they can disguise themselves as any creature on the planet that they want. So that might have something to do with maybe Daifuku's genie. Maybe it could do something like that. Hey, if you have a magical genie that can turn invisible, reconnaissance purposes, I think that would be very useful. For it to transform into anything, I think that would also be very, very handy as well. Get close to your opponent and then use the genie's power. Maybe a drawback of that was Daifuku has a limited range to which the genie can leave his body, so it might not be a perfect thing, but it would still be very useful if it was able to transform. There's also some other stuff in here too, but I don't think that's important to talking about Daifuku's genie. King Solomon used them as slaves at one point to construct monuments. That's kind of a dick move, Solomon. Blah, blah, blah. One of them was the Islamic devil Iblis. Oh, never read up about that dude. That dude sounds interesting. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. Genie of the Lamp. All right, so this is where we get to the fun part. And this is referring to 1001 Arabian Nights. This is where this original thing came from. And that's, of course, what Aladdin, the Disney movie, is based on. And there's two examples of this from the same author. The author is Scheherazade. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So the first one is the most common, the story with Aladdin. Aladdin gets locked in this cave by this sorcerer pretending to be his uncle, and he gets trapped in there, and he rubs this ring, and a genie pops out, and he asks it to return it, get out of the cave, and he gets out of the cave, and then he rubs the thing again, and another genie comes out that's even stronger. So multiple genies per a lamp. We see with Daifuku, it's one genie that comes out every time. So yeah, and eventually Aladdin uses that to marry the Sultan's daughter, and the genie makes a palace for him, and they live in there, and they happily ever after. So in that situation with Aladdin, that story actually ended fairly okay. Not really so much of a backlash there with the genies. In that situation, everything worked out okay. There's this other story, though, that I find really interesting by the same author, Scheherazade, and it involves the Fisherman and the genies. So basically, you have this fisherman dude who's just down on his luck. No matter how many times he casts out his net, he's not bringing anything back. Okay, and then eventually he managed to pick up some scrap metal. It's this old broken lamp that he finds that's corked up, and he pulls this thing out of the water, and he uncorks the thing, and then the genie pops out. Now here's the thing: the genie in this story is pissed off. This thing is so mad because this thing has been in this lamp for so long. It originally was like, hey, if any human awakens me from my slumber, I will grant you immense wealth beyond any of your imagination. It was very, very helpful, but then it was remaining in this lamp for so long, like 100 years, it steadily got more pissed off because no one was awakening him. So after about 100 years of being locked up, he's like, okay, I'm not gonna grant you immense wealth, but I will grant you 3 wishes. 3 wishes for any human that uncorks this lamp and lets me out, please. Another 100 years go by. He's still not uncorked. So by the time this poor fisherman bastard uncorks him, he's mad. He's like, you know what? I'm not giving you any wealth. I'm not giving you wishes. Next person that uncorks this thing, I am killing you, but I will allow you to choose how I will kill you. So by the time the genie comes out to the fisherman, this poor old fisherman's like, what? I didn't do anything. Like, I don't care. I've been in there for hundreds of years. I'm killing your ass. And so the fisherman, the way he gets out of it, though, the fisherman is basically like, wow, you're a pretty big guy. I find it hard to believe that a big guy like you could fit into this tiny lamp. And so, because the genie is stupid, I guess, he's like, oh, you don't think I could fit in there? Watch this. And he shrinks back down in the lamp, and the fisherman just corks it and chucks it back in the water. So it's like, okay, that guy was kind of an idiot, but I like that story. I like that story. Okay, but yeah, so what did we get from that? Well, we understood a little bit more about the tale of Aladdin, so I hope you all take that with you a little bit, and a little bit more about the Quran, I suppose. I don't know. But no, I think there's some important things from that, a few of them. Number one is the invisibility and the shape-shifting thing. Something else is that genies aren't always the nice people that grant you wishes, like in the story with Aladdin. In this case, it backlashes. So I'm assuming that every command that Daifuku gives out to this genie, unless he's really specific, even if he is specific, it might still backlash. Like the thing with the ship. It just might be that Daifuku has become so dependent on the genie. Technically, we've never seen him in a straight-up fight himself. I mean, he looks like a pretty big dude. Maybe go to fisticuffs with somebody, but we just haven't seen that. So maybe, you know, he had the fruit, he ate it a long time ago, and he got just dependent on it. You know, I made a joke about this in the video, but the whole thing with, like, I'm gonna rub my tummy, go get me a beer, genie. And he brings you back the wrong kind of beer or something. It's like, oh, well, whatever. Glug, glug, glug. He just got so used to being able to just summon this genie, and it'll listen to his every command. There doesn't seem to be a limit, like the 3-wish limit or anything like that. There seems to be any limited number of commands, but I'm sure there are limits. While there might not be a limit to how many things he can ask of it, I'm sure there's probably limits on what he could ask of it. For example, if Daifuku's like, Genie, kill Shanks for me, I don't think the genie would be able to do that. There would definitely be a limit around him that the genie could travel. Otherwise, you know, the genie would be able to travel around the world, and that's hideously broken, so there's definitely a perimeter. And the genie himself, while fairly strong, you know, it was able to go toe-to-toe with Sanji, managed to force him back. It could slice up, you know, ships like they're butter. It's not a weak thing. It really is a strong entity that is summoned from Daifuku. Maybe it has something to do with Daifuku's own level of power. So maybe, like, however strong Daifuku gets, the genie will continue to grow. In that case, Daifuku might be really badass. It's just we haven't seen him fight, because he's like, I'm not even gonna bother fighting you as long as I can summon this genie. Like, why would I fight myself? Why would I risk getting hurt when I can just summon this thing? I'm assuming also the genie, maybe if it can get hurt, but maybe it could heal. The thing is basically made out of smoke, so I mean, like, can it get injured? Or if it does get injured, can it just go back in the lamp and then just, you know, alright, hold up. Alright, let's try this again, and it comes back again and it's fully healed. Also, by the way, in case you were wondering, yeah, it does apparently seem like he has to keep rubbing his stomach to keep this genie out, and when he stops rubbing his stomach, it goes back in. So that might be something that might be kind of annoying, although, you know, he had a pretty strong arm, you know, constantly doing this motion all the time. You know, I'm sure he gives the best tummy rubs. But yeah, I mean, can it get injured? But even if it could get injured, if it could, you know, probably heals faster, you know, I don't think it's any kind of, like, mirror damage. I don't think it's like if the genie gets injured, Daifuku gets injured or anything like that. Because every time Daifuku brings the thing out, he seems rather nonchalant. He seems rather, like, chill about it. I mean, everybody seemed to be fearful of this genie. I think Jinbei was the one that even mentioned it, like, hey guys, be careful, that's Daifuku, he's got a genie! It's clearly strong, so in close combat with this thing, like, one-on-one, you're probably going to have quite a bit of a difficult fight on your hands. Sanji certainly did. It has 2 attacks so far that we've seen that involve its halberd, and that's just like I think it was like Majin Cut or Majin Slice, you know, so it's naming its own techniques. It really does seem to have, like, its own level of self-awareness. It probably doesn't have the level of awareness to the point where it could, like, you know, betray its master directly. Like if Daifuku said, you know, go fight that guy, and the genie's like, I don't want to, I'm gonna fight you instead. I don't think that could happen. But there are limits from what it could do. And I don't think, like, if it got the crap beat out of it, like if it isn't it's summoned by smoke, but it could still deal physical damage, so maybe it can be physically hurt. We just haven't seen that yet. If it can be physically hurt, I'm sure if Daifuku was, like, facing down Kaido and summoned his genie, you know, Kaido grabs this thing and just Genie's like, oh, I gotta go back into the stomach now, and then retreats back in, maybe a limited amount of time for the thing to recover. Something along those lines. Even if Daifuku doesn't get injured from it directly, he wouldn't be able to call on his genie for a certain amount of time. Maybe there's a time limit. Maybe it's like he can only have his thing out for a few... That came out wrong. Maybe he can only have his genie out for a while, and then, you know, after like 10-20 minutes of having his genie out, it has to retreat back into his stomach, or something like that, of that nature. But Yeah, it's certainly a very interesting one, and considering that there's so much with, like, the genie mythology and the lore behind it, I'm sure maybe Oda did some research on it. I would like to hope he did, before he designed such an interesting devil fruit. It certainly is a unique power. Many people have mentioned, and I haven't done this reference yet, so I'll just do it now. He's not so much of a devil fruit user, he's a stand user from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders, and especially more similar to the Judgment, who is like a genie stand from that series. So in that case, hail to you! Okay, I did it. I missed my opportunity to do that like 3 times already, so I got the hail to you! So there you go. Have fun, kids. Alright, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you talk about what's up with Daifuku's devil fruit below, all the crazy stuff he could do with it. Maybe it might circle back to the lore or whatever. What are the limits of his genie? You know, things he can't grant or whatever. We actually haven't seen Daifuku ask for like a direct, like a wish. We've asked him like, go fight these people, but never like, I want 1 billion berries, or, I want all my opponents to be instantly teleported to the bottom of the ocean. So it's probably not capable of doing any magic shit like that, but still a pretty powerful devil fruit. Alright, and I hope if you guys have any magical lamps lying around the house, maybe you can try to awaken your own genie as well. What the hell? I was totally expecting, like, a really attractive, busty girl to come out of this lamp right now. God, I need a girlfriend.